Welcome to Masters of Product Management, powered by Sequent Learning Networks, a show that provides extraordinary insights for product managers who want to go faster and farther in their product management careers.
Hello, this is JJ Rory, Vice President at Sequent Learning Networks. In our Masters of Product Management podcast, we tap into the experiences of people who work in and around product management to help you learn and grow in your product management career. Our topic today is one that is top of mind for many of the product executives and product managers that we work with here at Sequent. Many physical product companies are finding themselves dealing more and more with technology and the connected world. That is, their products must interact with many other products, platforms, and technologies. Think about all of the products in and around your home. We're asking Alexa or Google to tell us what the weather will be like today. Our refrigerators are reminding us that we need milk. We can control our thermostats and light bulbs from our phone. My personal favorite is that I can turn on my Roomba vacuum cleaner from my phone when I'm anywhere in the world. By the way, it really freaks out the house cats when the vacuum cleaner turns on when no one's home. So just beware, or maybe that's an added bonus. These formerly mundane products are now smart, connected, and automated. This is our world today. And the product managers and product leaders for these types of products must now bring a whole new paradigm into their thinking and actions, one where their products are now part of a larger ecosystem. So our guest today is an expert at navigating the waters of moving from products to services and ecosystems, and all that entails for organizations. Mark Karasek is Executive Vice President and Chief Technology Officer of the Chamberlain Group, the parent company of global brands LiftMaster, Chamberlain, Grifco, and Merlin. They've been making residential garage door openers, commercial door operators, and gate entry systems for many decades. You probably have one of their products in your home. I certainly do. All of their products are connected through an innovative, connected platform which empowers users to monitor and control their entry points through their smartphone. Mark is also on the board of MHub, which is Chicago's Innovation Center for Physical Product Development and Manufacturing, is on the advisory board of the Masters of Design and Development Management program at Northwestern University, and was a founding member of the Kellogg Innovation Network. He's also an occasional guest lecturer at Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management and University of Chicago's Booth School of Business. Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. So Mark, you and the team at Chamberlain have done an incredible job of transforming your products and services into a connected ecosystem. I love the story of how it all started. I heard you tell it recently, and it really stuck with me. Essentially, simply trying to solve a problem for your customers. Can you share that story with us?
Of course. It begins with our innovation journey. We learned to do product innovation effectively, but we were really focused on Chamberlain out rather than end user in. And we realized that we needed to get a better understanding of how users interact with our products. So we launched an ethnographic research study to really understand the journey from the house to the garage to the car, and from the car to the garage to the house. And this work really provided a lot of user insights, a lot of very interesting information. The most compelling insight that we got was that we heard over and over that people forget if they close their garage door when they leave their house. It's become so automatic to press the transmitter button on your visor that we don't remember if we did it or not. So we heard over and over from people that once a week, twice a week, once a month, twice a month, varied by individual, but they would need to loop around the block or call their spouse, call their neighbor to see if they closed their garage door. Many people just worried all day about whether their garage door was closed or not. This was a compelling use case because most people in the U.S. get into their home through their garage. And so the idea of their garage door sitting open felt to them like their front door being open. So we looked at how we could solve that problem. That's really what we were trying to do. And we determined that the best way to do that was by creating a connectivity platform that we call MyQ. This decision that MyQ, to create MyQ and that connectivity platform, really moved us as a company from being a durables, commercial and consumer durables manufacturer to being an ecosystem company where we're managing products and services.
That's great. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. That really drives home the point that it really all comes down to what the users need, and that observation data and that observation research is so important, and frankly, something that a lot of companies don't do. And so while they may ask questions, they may do surveys, they may do research on their own, they really don't get down to the like you said, the journey and the day in the life of that customer. So I appreciate that. That's a great story. I love it. Thanks for sharing that. So this transition from products and services to ecosystems, as you characterize it, is a fundamental shift. It starts at the very strategic top level of an organization, of course. So how did the executive team at the Chamberlain Group approach this? Trial by fire, a lot of planning, soul searching, a combination?
So we really didn't understand what we were getting into. As I said, we were just trying to solve an end user problem. About a week after we introduced our first connected garage door opener, I was out in Pittsburgh visiting with the company that helped us on our initial app work, which was Maya. And I sat down with their CEO, and he told me that I needed to really think about the fact that we still saw ourselves as a product company, but that with the introduction of this connected product, we had become a data and services company. And his point was that we needed to really start thinking hard about what that would mean, because it would change everything about the business. And he was right. Moving forward as fast as we could, to meet end user needs, at the same time, we were scrambling to figure out how to build the processes and the capabilities to do it well. It drove process changes. As a durables manufacturer, we were very good at stage gate process. Stage gate is a great process for developing physical products where you're trying to manage execution risk. Now that we were layering software services on top of our products, we had to learn how to get good at agile development, which is the main tool set for software development. And then what we realized is that moving from products to ecosystems meant business model innovation. So we had to learn how to do lean startup, the tool set that's most effective for managing uncertainty, because business model innovation is really about managing uncertainty and learning, not managing execution risk. We also had to build new terminology internally and understand definitions of terms that were unfamiliar to us as executives. We had to understand what a scrum is. We had to understand what product owners do and how to incorporate product owners into our organization. We had to understand stories, sprints, how to develop tribes. These were all new terms and new approaches that we had to understand as executives. All of us were very comfortable in the stage gate world, far less comfortable in the agile or the lean startup worlds. We had to redefine quality and service level. In a durables manufacturer, quality is typically defined as defective parts per million. We look closely at the measure of defective parts per million for the product coming off the back end of our manufacturing process. Well, that's still an important quality metric for us, but we've had to add the usability of our app and metrics like that on top of it. How intuitive our app is a real determining factor for how customers perceive the quality of our products today. Service level, again, in a durables manufacturer is typically measured around, is product available in the warehouse to ship, ready to ship when a customer orders it. That's still an important metric for us, but now we also have to worry about the uptime. What's the service level of our middleware? We have to worry about the latency within our middleware and our apps to understand a measure of service level. We learned that people bring their understanding of the physical world into the digital space. For us, an example of that was when you stand in front of your garage door opener and you press your transmitter, that point-to-point device that you've used for decades to open your garage door, we know that if that door doesn't start moving in a few hundred milliseconds, you think it's broken and you'll start pressing the button repeatedly. We've had to design our transmitters to ignore you. Otherwise, the door will bounce up and down. When you stand in front of your garage door with our app and you touch the button to open the door through your app, you think the same thing's going to happen. You expect the same thing to happen. You don't care that that phone is talking to a cell tower, which is then transmitting the signal through multiple servers in the cloud, and then to your local router, and then to the garage door opener. We don't control many of the steps in that chain. You still expect the same behavior to happen. And so in terms of quality and service level, these are new challenges for us. The other area that was really a new challenge that we had to understand and we're still struggling with is what I call customer intimacy. Traditionally, as a product manufacturer, we talk at end users continuously using traditional advertising and promotion tools. And they listen every 12 to 15 years when they need a new operator. Well, now we have online communities that are 24/7. We've started having conversations with end users rather than talking at them. This is a new challenge for us. Some of those conversations are very pleasant and positive, and some aren't. And so we are trying to learn how to manage those conversations in ways that allow us to get better and to better serve our customers.
That's amazing. Really good feedback there. So one of the things that we hear a lot is especially the process, right? So moving from waterfall to agile is quite an undertaking for organizations. And they certainly struggle with it, but it's something that they need to do when it comes to moving that. So really good stories and tidbits there. Thank you. So moving on, you're a thought leader in this area. And not only do you help Chamberlain and you have moved that organization forward, but you help other organizations through MHub and other innovation incubators. So what are some of the mistakes that you see organizations making? And what advice would you give them to possibly avoid those mistakes?
The biggest mistake I see companies make is doing connectivity and IoT or IIoT because they can, not because they should. They start with company out instead of end user in. They don't really study the end user and look for insights and problems, struggles that end users are having, and then figure out how to provide solutions. They look at their product, they add connectivity, and then they try to figure out how to make customers care. That's a lot harder journey.
Yeah. Makes sense. So on that same token, what are some of the biggest challenges for physical product companies as they try to add these software services and try to become part of a bigger ecosystem?
I think the biggest challenge, I think there's several challenges, but the biggest one is figuring out how to get paid. Connected platforms are expensive to develop and maintain. It's easier on the B2B side than it is on the B2C side. On the B2B side, companies are willing to pay for value, and they're able to do an ROI calculation. But on the B2C side, consumers make buying decisions emotionally. And end users have been trained to think software and the related services are free. They're just now beginning to realize that if they aren't paying for a product or service, then they are the product. and their information is the product. But we haven't seen that transition yet to consumers understanding the trade-off between those that give a free service and use your information and those who charge for a service. Another area of challenge is figuring out how to interact with these developing ecosystems. The question is, who's going to get to command the majority of the profit pool going forward? As value shifts from products or services to ecosystems, it's likely that the profit pool will redistribute. There are potential long-term consequences and risks of commoditization as companies begin to work with these powerful ecosystem leaders that are developing. Another area of challenge is security and privacy, which are getting far more complex. You really need to think about how your understanding of physical security and physical privacy, how those will translate into the digital space for your product and the ecosystems that you'll become a part of. And finally, social media is a huge challenge. Once your product is connected, your end users will want to talk back to you. And they'll do that aggressively on social media. You need to have a plan to manage that conversation in a positive way and react to the feedback that you get and understand the costs and the risks associated with this new level of customer intimacy.
It's fascinating. So one of the things that brought to mind while you were talking is I used to work in the banking and financial services and fintech kind of industry, and it was several years ago. And mobile banking essentially was, or mobile payment really was really up and coming at that point, and still just being worked on in all of these companies. And so at the time, the partners or the players in that ecosystem, so the banks, the payment processors, the credit card networks, Visa, MasterCard, et cetera, the big mobile carriers, all of those groups were trying to figure out who is going to control the profit pool, who is going to control the customer account, right, in that relationship. And so all of that really, frankly, postponed some of the mobile payment that could have happened. So it's fascinating to think about all of the different players that now you have to think about, not just your own organization and who owns that. So thank you again for sharing that. So this is an interesting question, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it. Where do you see the physical product world in 10 years, in 20 years? What do you think the keys to winning in this new world will be?
So first, I think platform as a service will make generic connectivity of physical products easier and more cost-effective over time. You're beginning to see the early stages of that. Nobody's quite there yet, but we can see it on the horizon. It's probably 5 years or so out. Features and functionality, I believe, will continue to move from device interfaces to the software and services interface, so the mobile device. That creates all its own set of challenges. Creating a meaningful user interface on a physical device can be challenging, but we know how to do those things typically as durables manufacturers. Now we have to deal with the richer, more powerful interface of the mobile device. Takes different skill sets, takes a lot more user experience, capabilities, and resources. So I think that those are areas that will continue to be in high demand in the future. I think there will continue to be trade-offs. I think the trade-offs will get tougher around giving up primary end user relationships to the big ecosystem players. I think it's going to be hard for most companies to retain that primary end user relationship. You really need to think through the implications for your ability to differentiate your products as you have this large ecosystem leader between you and the end user.
Interesting. It will certainly be fascinating to watch over time. So some final advice on for organizations out there who don't quite know where to start. They know they need to move in this direction. Any advice you would give on what they should do to get going on ensuring their success in this area in the long run?
I think that the most important thing is to find peers. Look for meetups in your local area. Look for best practices groups where you can develop a group of peers to get advice and learning. A lot of companies are going through the same challenges. Learn from each other. You certainly can find other companies that are not competitors who will be happy to share and learn from you. The other thing is really look at the lean startup tool set. As a durable manufacturer who moves into connectivity, or any company that moves into connectivity and services, you're going to have to be ready to have multiple processes. So stage gate for physical product, agile for software, and then lean startup tool set for business model innovation and test and learn.
Great, thank you. And as we've said, there are so many organizations and executives and leaders and product managers going through this. So I'm sure they will heed your advice. So thank you for that. So this has just been a wonderful discussion today. Thank you so much, Mark Karasek, EVP and CTO of the Chamberlain Group, for sharing your vast wisdom with us. I could talk about this all day. I hope you'll come back sometime soon. Join me again, as there is just so much to discuss around this topic. So thanks again, Mark. Thank you for joining us on Masters of Product Management, powered by Sequent Learning Networks. I am JJ Rory, and I look forward to speaking with you on the next episode.
You've been listening to Masters of Product Management, powered by Sequent Learning Networks. If you'd like to take your career to the next level with additional tools, training, coaching, and books, be sure to visit Sequent Learning Networks at sequentlearning.com.